to be that support, and also to be present in the gym of we can do this, and let's see how hard we can go. And so that would be more of the people I'm surrounded by, is always people who are quite supportive and positive.
Well, it's good that, I mean, this is, I saw this picture, and this is some ladies that you are surrounded with. A couple of ladies I've interviewed. Right here, you have Tanya Chartrand, who I interviewed a while back, Myrhe, and also you have here, I have not interviewed her yet, Jennifer Reese. And, this is like well, let's say a triumph of women in, you have a figure competitor and three physique competitors.
Yep.
And, it's good that you women have this common bond because you understand the process as athletes, the time you put into. I mean, last time I saw, Tanya had some medical issues she was taking care of, and I know um, Jennifer, she competed at the Masters of Olympia just last year. So also with the Leisure Sports Show, it's also opens and masters. And there's a lot of competitors now in the last few years in bodybuilding. I've interviewed a lady who was 61 years old and got into bodybuilding at 55. I just interviewed a lady yesterday who was 50. I'm going to be 50 in November. And, and just that with you women now, bodybuilding has really expanded over the years. But also, the divisions, if you look at it now, are starting to meld a little bit. In like you've seen there was a debate about how if you look at the New York Pro, how Sharaka Hinton, who's been a multiple-time Olympic competitor, she had the classic look. Then you look at a show like St. Louis Pro, where lady who I interviewed also, like to drop names because that's how good I am. Marika Jones, she has the look that's more, I would say, close to women's bodybuilding than it is to women's physique.
And I think that's, one of the things that most of us experience. So a lot of women I know are always the feedback that they receive: get bigger, put on more muscle, get bigger, put on more muscle. Now, some of the feedback I received after my last show is, you're too big. I never thought I'd get to that place where people were saying that to me, because I'm like, interesting, interesting. But I do think that, it does create a little bit more of that confusion for both coaches and competitors of where is the line, what is the look that you're actually looking for, and it changes from show to show, and we all see that it changes from show to show. And you have to feel comfortable, I think, with beating yourself first and foremost, and establishing what goals it is that you're looking to meet, and then just bringing your best package. Whatever's going to be from that point forward is going to be, and you have to feel confident in your ability to be able to execute on that. Like, you can only control what you can control in this sport.
Yeah, okay. And also like something you're not competing against other competitors, you're competing with yourself. Because you
Yeah.
get in that stage, you have to see what you're gonna bring. And the judges, they have critiques. And yeah, it's fun. I even have heard, I did interview some women in figure saying like the judges say want you more size, more lat. But it's supposed to be a division, it's supposed to be like kind of like almost like bikini girls with a little bit more muscle. But you're
Yep.
getting the fact that like, some of the women now are getting closer to physique, and the women in physique getting close to women's bodybuilding, and they'll set
Yeah.
the criteria. They always set the criteria for the other divisions, like men's open, the classic, and also even bikini and wellness. They get set criteria, but they'll even say, you know what, we this is why we brought in physique, because here I wasn't a big fan of physique division. I called it watered down women's bodybuilding. And I saw
Oh.
IFBB have this is one of my favorite quotes: how the IFBB walk quiet behind women's bodybuilding, stabbing in the hearts. But even now, physique's getting that same look. As you know, if you heard a while back, Jack Tatone, who promotes in the Midwest, he decided to, because there was only five competitors at the St. Louis show, he decided to drop the women's physique from his show.
Yep.
And he did this a couple years ago when he dropped women's bodybuilding from the Omaha Pro because there were only two competitors. And he said that if there wasn't enough competitors for Omaha, he was going to just drop women's physique and replace it with another division. And like I said, even you in women's physique is getting that same stink eye, just like women's bodybuilding.
It's very difficult, and I think women spend a lot of time investing in gaining that size, and then to show up to, thinking that you've hit the mark and not to hit the mark. It can be really disappointing.
Yeah, because that's a lot of time and money you put into this, and it should be worthwhile opportunities. I mean, We all know the guys are going to get more money and more opportunities compared to women because they get most of the attention. If you look at some of the Olympia, the top 10 competitors in the men's open, they still get money. While it's not the top five, and you see the guy walks away with nearly almost $1 million, where you get maybe $50,000, and you got to think about it. If somebody shows put up some good prize money, be worth the time, because like I said again, this
Yeah.
is a expensive sport for you ladies to do. Here we got a comment from my man Davis Adams. He says, "Hey everybody, hey George, hey Arbe, thank you brother for coming through." Now you're at work right now, right?
I am at work right now.
What do you do for a living? What's your job? You want to share with us?
I'm an executive director of a nonprofit.
hmm And with profit is helping people, with things like what's the most what you do exactly as the nonprofit.
Yep. So at the nonprofit that I run, we do social housing and community living, which would be for persons with disabilities and mental health. And so we do a variety of things within multiple communities, housing, assisted living registry, which is under our mental health department. We do drug and alcohol counseling. So we do a variety of services. I think we have about 23 programs in total.
That's all the program. That's like helping people with disabilities, people recovering from stuff like alcoholism, drug addiction. I mean, you know, it's just that's good work, because some people there's so much they can't do on their own, and charity starts from the home. And do you love your job? Do you love what you do? You feel like you're making a difference in doing this charity work?
So I've worked in charity work for over 25 years. What brought me in was that I wanted to make a difference, not only in my community, but, for people who are really marginalized. And when I was working on my undergrad, I had the opportunity to do my practicum at a psychiatric hospital. And I really saw a predominant need, but felt really strongly about the community setting. I found it really difficult to be in an institutional setting, and so that kind of established my path from that point forward. And so I've done a variety of different things over time. My biggest part is housing, so a lot of harm reduction, working with individuals who are engaged in active drug use, predominant mental health concerns, usually having faced long periods of homelessness. So it's definitely rewarding, but it's also quite challenging.
Yeah, because it's challenging trying to do good things for people, and sometimes people got to be wanting to take the opportunity at this, but sometimes people will take advantage of it, and you got to be careful. Is this like a selection process you go through for when you pick some people?
So we do things quite a bit different in Canada than things are done in the States. Our funders are government run, but there are systems and processes. So only the mental health, drug and alcohol counseling is self-referral. Everything else, there are tables that are established, and so it's more of a committee selection to establish, any sort of placement in social housing programs through Community Living BC. That would be again a vetting process through the funder, which is CLBC, to agencies that potentially have any open spots. So it's not a straight line for sure. It's not a straight line.
Yeah, because like I know my family, my mother and father after they broke up, we lived on welfare. We still lived on welfare for a good while, and then when we decided to move, we moved into a housing complex. I've been living here for almost 30 years with me and my mom, and really how I got into this whole thing with bodybuilding was I was a fan of bodybuilding for a long time, and just a fan of you ladies because y'all don't get enough attention. If you look at like there's only so few outlets that talk about exclusively about you ladies. But this is why I do this content. It give y'all a voice, and this is kind of like my purpose because I don't have, like I said, I took care of my mom. She passed about 4 years ago, and I don't really have anything but me now. I don't have no kids. It just got me, and this is why I, reach out to people like yourself and other ladies and Maria, and give them an opportunity to share their stories and give people a outlook of what it is to be a woman in a sport that's considered very masculine and muscular and all that other stuff. We have here, man, CS Racing Reports. Shout out to him coming through. He says the blurred lines of muscularity and femininity, beauty, with judges and being invasive had been the problem with making bodybuilding mainstream. Says see part two. I say part two is here. He says this. He says part two that invasive triggered NBC, ESPN, etc. to drop coverage, recap shows, and the alternative as to create multiple divisions, which is fine. And he has part three, so you probably put that up later. So after what was that feeling when you officially became an IFBB pro?
So it was, of course, exciting. When I first had a conversation with Tim, who's my coach, Tim Thompson, he was so definitive of it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so, certainly that's kind of what was in my mind. He says that people have to be a real freak to challenge, me at that amateur level, which of course I still find interesting. I'm somewhat oblivious to my size and height at times. Um, so being in Pittsburgh, and being in front of judges who I've never been in front of, luckily I have dual citizenship, which allowed me to go compete in the States because as Canadians, we only have few options that we can do otherwise, which is the North Americans, the Arnolds, and
The amateur Olympians.
right. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And so and that was not what I was aiming for. One of Tim's other clients, Amanda Snooks, helped me to navigate that because they make it somewhat difficult. So even the fact that I'm an American, because I live in Canada and whatever, it was a little bit more complicated to go do that process than I anticipated. Anyways, with her help, I was able to go do it, and yeah, it was a very so well run. Like it's such a big show and so well run, very well organized. Although I was quite intimidated by the amount of people who were there, overall, I would say to date, it was probably the best experience I've had competing.
You just
And
mentioned
not
Amanda
just because I
Snooks.
had not just because I got my pro card, but it really the promoters were amazing. Like the whole thing was just executed flawlessly.
Yeah, because that's Gary. That's one of Gary Udy's shows. He's the king of Pittsburgh. Or actually, he's the prince of Pittsburgh. The king of Pittsburgh is Jim Mannion. Well, I think he's like a duke if you want to say that. You go like the king is Jim Mannion, the prince is J.M., and the heir apparent is his son Tyler. And I would say uh, Gary's like one of the lords and or earls sitting on the council, But name just mentions a lady who I've become good friends with, the lovely Miss Amanda Snooks. She got her pro card at the North Americans. Me,
She
Amanda, we
got
met.
three pro cards at the North
Yes,
Americans.
yes, three. I forgot. Yeah, yes. She was women's bodybuilding and then also physique. And she's been struggling for a long time trying to get a pro card. I got to meet Amanda because we were Facebook friends for a long time, always talking back and forth. She came down here in North Carolina because a guy named I know named Glenn Young Senior. He opened up his new magazine called Amazon Fitness Magazine. She does some photo sessions with him, and she was there. Her and another lady I've become friends with, and it was great to see her. And I know Amanda said she's planning to make her debut next year, and I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what she's gonna bring. Here we got
Well,
here. I gotta get careful with this one. This is a guy. He's a fan, and his name is Balls Deep. He says this. He says, good afternoon, gorgeous. He says also. He says, Chicago in here as usual. He says, smash the like button. Thank you, Balls Deep. And it says, peace and blessings. And he also says, he says this, he also says, how's your day, sweetie? And also we have here is I says, beautiful. So, that's, you got to cover balls. Sometimes he's a good day, he's a good guy. So, after the Vancouver Isle show, this is something I always have to ask, especially as food is an important part of the bodybuilders developing, and also is both can be a weapon or a tool. So after the Van Isle show, what was that thing that you created? That thing that was calling that name, that thing that made you driven, that thing you wanted the most?
well, the one thing that I like the most is cookies. I call them after breakfast. I call them my breakfast dessert. So it's not a matter of just having one. I think I've had a cookie, like the big, huge monster cookies, every single day since I've competed, which of course is quite lovely. And, we did talk a little bit about the metabolism. I can eat a lot of food and it doesn't negatively impact me. I also would say that Tim doesn't really particularly deprive me in ways where I have ridiculous cravings because I do